Angus, ABL Pedals here, back with another current affairs in which we look into pedal circuits and what makes them do their thing. Today we have what is probably known as one of the earliest examples of a distortion pedal. It's the MXR Distortion Plus / DOD 250. I say /250 because it's a bit of a grey area as to which was first. They both came out at a really similar time and are very similar circuit wise. There's a few very obvious differences, but I'll show you what they are in due course.
First introduced by MXR in 1978, the Distortion Plus is one of the earliest examples of what we know as distortion and overdrive pedals that are still on the market today. Before its release, other than fuzzes, the only way to get overdrive or distortion tones were to drive a valve amp loud and hard, which we all know is not that doable. The pedal circuit is centered around a non-inverting single 471 op-amp or operational amplifier and features hard-clipping germanium diodes. The Distortion Plus was closely followed by DOD with the 250 overdrive preamp, which features a very similar circuit other than utilizing silicon diodes to clip the signal. Notable players include Randy Rhoads, Josh Klinghoffer and Jerry Garcia, to name but a few.
So Electrosmash have conveniently broken this down for us already, so I'm not going to mess around too much with it. But basically your guitar comes in through here. There's a couple of capacitors that form some filtering stages basically, and it hits this single op amp, which looks like this. And then it's got a fixed gain, and the gain control is actually an active filter basically that filters how much of your guitar signal at the cutoff point basically for which gets distorted. So when it's wide open, it's like the max frequency. When it's right back, it's a little frequency. And it says you'll hear it, and when we go over the impracticability stages. So then that comes out of there and it gets clipped by, for the MXR Distortion, it's 2 germanium diodes, and for the DOD it's 2 silicon diodes. Those are the two main differences. There's a lot of up in the airs as to parts values and who did what first and whatever, as I said as well, but what I really wanted to get across is that this is a non-inverting single op amp hard clipping distortion basically that then goes straight to the volume pot from there. That's it basically. It's these three elements together. I'm ignoring the power supply stage because that's boring. That basically make up what this circuit does, and it does it quite well. So let's get back to the breadboard and have a quick listen to it. So you heard a bit of it in the intro there. I'm going through a Strat style guitar. Here's my clean tone. And as you can see, I've kind of got this top down setup here. This is the gain control and this is the volume control here. And currently we're in the MXR version with the germanium diodes. As I said, the main difference between the two is these germanium and silicon diodes which do the clipping. And I've added some LEDs here just cause to see. That's a pretty common modification to have all three and show them off. And as I said, it's this sort of active gain. This gain control is more of an active filter, which you'll hear when I actually play it. So because of the fixed gain, there's always some signal going. And when you remove them, you basically have an MXR micro amp, albeit with a master volume control. So here's the silicon diodes. you can hear, the silicon diodes from the DOD, they change it quite a lot because it's a lot more open, it's not nearly as compressed because of the way the diodes work. It's basically, they have a lot lower threshold of when they actually turn on. Diodes are very much on or off, as you'll know with an LED light, for example. They basically are on or off, so there's a lot higher threshold of when germanium diodes clip compared to when silicon diodes clip. I think Josh from JHS sort of put it in the best, in that he was like, germanium diodes are like a low watt tube amp, silicon diodes are like a 50 watt, but meanwhile LEDs are like 100 watts basically. So they've got massive sort of, they have more of a crunch and way more headroom. Also, I don't know if it's coming up on the video that you'll see that they're kind of lighting up as you play, and I always find that quite fun. It doesn't have a tone control, but I'd question if it actually needs one now. Considering it was set, it's called the preamp, so maybe it's just there to be a bit of grit, a nice grit boost. Something I wanted to get across on these videos was how your guitar signal progresses through the circuit. So that Electrosmash article that we looked at earlier, it broke it down as it went, so that was really useful, and I want to kind of show you that as it goes. So thanks to this little contraption here, which is effectively an audio probe, this capacitor here helps block DC into the AC signal from the guitar. I can show you that. So I'm going to show you at the input stage now, once it's on. So there's not much difference from the kind of input. There's just a bit of the kind of highs and lows shaved off before it hits the amplifier stage, which the amplifier stage is going to be really loud because it's an amplifier stage. But here, how it actually filters. And that filter is basically what's making the distortion, is increasing the gain, as we go. I should have maybe put a volume pot in this, but then that would kind of defeat the purpose. So next up it goes to the clipping stage, which is quieter because it's being clipped, it's literally being compressed, but it's what makes that kind of fun, nice distortion. So that's the germaniums, other than the fact that I've dropped my pick. And this is the silicon diodes here from the 250. And then that basically goes to the volume pot, which is the whole circuit, because there's not actually that much to this one. So as I said, when I was looking what can be done with this and what different versions there has been over the years, because it's basically one of the building blocks of guitar pedals, and circuits in general, because it's a non-inverting op-amp stage being clipped by a couple of diodes, that's the rat, and then it leads to the tube screamer, which leads to the shredmaster and whatever. They're all very much, they play into each other. But I found this version from Earthquaker Devices that I've got up here from Fuzzdog. Shout out to Fuzzdog, great DIY kits they've done a couple of modifications which I thought was pretty interesting. So they've got the op amp still being hard clipped, no tone control still, but rather than the gain state control as it is in its stock form, it's been replaced by this weight control that basically blends in the capacitor, the size of the capacitor, which in turn does still change the frequency response of the pedal, but and the fixed gain has been replaced with a more traditional gain control. That gain control is how it is on the Rat, how it is on a Tube Screamer. You know, that is what a gain control when you do an op amp for the most part is nowadays, which is then further clipped by diodes and some more by the looks of it. And then in lieu of a tone control, it basically has a filter stage, this resistor capacitor here, form a high pass filter. Basically, it's the same, it would be the same if you put a Rat style in, and they've just fixed the pot value basically, from what I can tell. So let's have a wee listen to that and see what we think compared to the stock one. So we've got the Earthquaker Devices white light version set up, which, as I've said, kind of has a more traditional gain control. It has this weight control, which kind of replaces the old gain control, and it still has a volume pot, albeit it's a higher value of volume pot. And I think and it's got a switch for the diodes for the original one, which we can do by our own nefarious ways, thanks to the way breadboards work. If my is my AutoZoom going to work? Okay, anyway, so we can add those in as well in some kind of way, shape or form. We've still got this on the breadboard, but just ignore it. It's the old gain control. It's not in anymore. Let's hear how that sounds. This is with the germanium. So as you can hear, that weight control really helps, because it's changing the frequency response of the distortion stage. It does really help sort of dictate what sort of sound you're going to get. Even so, it's kind of a tone control without being a tone control. Here it is with none, lastly. So this is just the sheer op amp gain. I'll add this is very bad. So I don't know, let's try a combination of diodes. Let's see how the germanium and the LEDs sound together in series. So I hope that you've enjoyed that sort of look into the DOD 250 / MXR Distortion Plus, along with what Earthquaker did to change their version. I think it's a bit underrated these days, given it's not got tone control, but it's a really nice, simple distortion. It's got 2 knobs, batter in. The Earthquaker version with its weight control makes it pretty versatile, again, despite not having a traditional tone knob. It was really cool, so I hope you've enjoyed that and found it informative. Until next time, keep on rocking.